Welcome back, everyone. This is my part 2 for modding Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 on the Xbox 360. This is the mod tutorial video. I'm going to be going through a pretty detailed explanation. I'm going to kind of keep it short and simple, but very detailed, because I need you guys to be able to have good understanding on what you need to do, what you have to do, that sort of thing. I want to start off by first of all thanking you guys for the amount of support that you gave me in my first video. I did not expect that video to do as well as it did. I didn't expect it to get nearly as much attention as it did, because I figured nobody would really care about mods on the 360. In fact, I was expecting kind of a negative response. I was kind of assuming you guys were just going to knock the 360 version and say just get an old potato PC which can run probably 30 times better. Something along that line, you know, but you guys really do love the 360 version of New Vegas pretty much as I do, which is great to see. I'm very thankful that you guys were nothing but positive. I was expecting also for you guys to kind of hate on my crappy camera or mic or editing. You guys were willing to overlook that, so I thank you. I'm going to get into the requirements that you need right now. I'm going to go through kind of like step by step the process. I'll have timestamps down in the description. You guys can jump around to anything you need to. If you need to come back to this video, or if you need quick access, I'm going to make that accessible for you guys. So step 1, requirements. You're going to need a modified console. I'm running an RGH3 Xbox 360 Slim. You're going to need an RGH, a JTAG, or I think maybe Bad Update could do this. You're going to need something pretty much to get you onto this Aurora menu. The Aurora menu is basically your Xbox 360's modified menu. I'm sure you guys know if you already have modified consoles. I've not done any mods with an Xbox One or Series X or any of those other kind of consoles, so this tutorial is not really for those. This is mainly for the 360. I've never managed to see anybody get mods to work on those versions of the games, so if you want mods for the Xbox version, you gotta kind of do it on a modified 360. So that's requirement number 1. The second requirement, you're gonna need a USB flash drive, or you can use Xbox 360 Neighborhood, I believe it's called, which is like an FTP server or something that lets you transfer files right to your computer. You can use either one of those, I think. I'm going to be using a USB flash drive because it's easier for me to just pop the flash drive in and out and then plug it right back into the computer. It's slightly longer. It takes a little bit longer to do it that way, but it's really not that bad. And for me, it's just more simple than setting up a proxy server or whatever else you got to do for Neighborhood. So that's requirement number 2. You're going to want to have if you're going to do the flash drive, you're going to want to have a pretty hefty flash drive. The one I'm using cost me $20 up at Walmart. It's a 64 gigabyte flash drive. They're kind of cheap. They're not like SD cards, which get kind of costly. So the flash drives are relatively cheap. You can get a pretty hefty one. I wouldn't get nothing too crazy. Like, I wouldn't go over 100 gigabytes really. You're not going to be transferring that many files and that much, that much stuff onto the console. So, but I also wouldn't get one that's small, like 20 gigabytes. I'd try to keep it around 50 and up, maybe 40 and up. That's really pushing it. 40 gigabytes and up. The bigger the better, really. But so yeah, that's basically all you need to do. And you're going to need a PC, obviously, to get the PC mods and to be able to transfer files. My PC is pretty shitty. It's just an old Windows 7 laptop. I guess that's why I use mods on the consoles, because I have such a garbage PC. The final requirement you're going to need is, of course, a copy of Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3. You'll notice all these Aurora applications, they all have little green borders on the outlines of the game. Your disc that you'll have will have a red one, and that's kind of how you know you're all good to go and the disc is all loaded up in your DVD drive. I'm playing on the Ultimate Edition. I know Aurora shows it as the base game, but this is the Ultimate Edition. You can do this modding process with the Ultimate Editions of these games or with the base version. It really doesn't matter. If you're going to use the Ultimate Editions or the Game of the Year Editions for Fallout 3's case, make sure you install Disc 2 first, because Disc 2 is the DLC disc and it holds all the DLC data. So just install that as you normally would onto your hard drive, and then you'll be all good to go. Then pop Disc 2 out, put Disc 1 in, which is considered the play disc, and then that's where we're going to be ripping the files from. So step 1 is basically ripping the DVD files. So how do you do that? If you're familiar with Aurora or familiar with extracting files, then you can kind of skip this whole step, but I'm going to go through it because I remember I didn't really know how to do it too well when I got into modding, so I'm going to explain it to you guys. So you go into your file manager in Aurora, click File Manager. The 3 things you're going to be needing to look at really that we're going to be getting into for this tutorial today is the DVD, HDD1, and USB 0, or whatever else you name your flash drive. You're going to need to be basically just look at these 3 for this whole tutorial, nothing else. So when ripping DVD files, once you have your disk inside the drive, you just click DVD, and right here these are the extracted files. Inside the data folder you're going to find all the data for Fallout New Vegas. It's pretty light right now because it's just the base game right off the disk. And all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to select every single one of these. And then you're going to go over to copy. So then once you click copy, it'll say 6 files and queued for copy. You're going to want to hit right shoulder button, and you're going to want to go down to your USB. This is my USB stick. Yours is probably going to be empty. Make sure your USB is formatted also. Before you do anything, make sure your USB is formatted to the Xbox 360. I don't know if you really need to have it formatted. You might be able to do it without doing that, but I formatted mine, so you guys probably should too. If it's a brand new flash drive, you're going to have nothing in here. If you already have something in here, then just make a designated folder like what I got going on. Just ignore GoldenEye and ignore my content folder. Just kind of look at these 3 right here. I made a games folder, and inside here you have Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. We'll get into this later for the text plugin. But for Fallout New Vegas, this is my games folder. So then you go in here and look at that. It's pretty much the exact same that's on the DVD. So then all you're going to want to do is go down here, and once you of course make your Fallout New Vegas folder, this will be empty, and just paste everything off the DVD inside here. So you'll just click paste, and then you'll get all your extracted files right onto your USB drive. And it's as simple as that. It'll transfer them all. It might take a little bit of time because you are ripping a pretty big game right to your drive, so give it some time. It'll be kind of slow at first, and then that's that. So now that you have your files on your USB, we're going to pull that USB right out of the Xbox and hop on over to the PC. Alright, jumping over to the PC here, you're going to see all the files that we saw over on the console. You can see my flash drive here. I've nicknamed it Xbox 360 FD. Basically just stands for flash drive. The 2 folders that you're going to need to create is a games folder, and then if you're having multiple games, then make a Fallout New Vegas folder, and then have your data right off your DVD inside this folder. Heading back out, you're also going to need to make a DLC mod list folder. This is where we're going to be putting all the mods that we've converted into DLC packages at. So we're going to be dumping all those right in here. I know that they show up just as files here, but these are actually in a Xbox 360 format that it can recognize as a DLC. Inside the data folder here, this is where we're going to be dropping most of the mod files, such as ESPs, BSAs, textures, meshes, ESMs, all that sort of thing. That's all going to happen here. Text files like readmes and mods don't necessarily matter. Most of the time I just leave those out because they don't do anything. They're just instructions. But yeah, we're going to be dropping most of that over here. The very first thing you're going to want to do inside your extracted game files is you're going to want to go into the Fallout ini. This is very important because this basically allows the game to run unsigned code, I believe, and it allows for these mods to work. You don't want to mess around in this this ini for very long, or messing around with too much stuff. You can get away with doing some things. For example, I've changed the grass size inside the Fallout ini. You can do very simple things, but I wouldn't do anything too big unless you know what you're doing in here, because you can totally break your game. But for modding, what you need to first do is go to Edit, and then click Find. It'll say Find What? Just type in Archive. Then click Find Next, and it'll take you down to the Archive page. From here, you're going to want to find B invalidate older files equals. This will be set to 0 when you click on the Fallout ini. So you'll see it and it'll say B invalidate older files equals 0. What you want to do is basically delete the 0, put 1. And what that does is allow the game to, of course, run the mods. Then once you do that, don't close out yet. Come up here to File and then click Save. Then you can close it. Now that the Fallout ini has been edited, you'll see that the time will reflect the last time you click Save. That's how you know you did it successfully, and then everything's all good there. Coming over here, this is another folder that you're going to want to create called FNV mods. This is basically your mod organization. This is where you're going to be putting all your Nexus mods at. So you're going to want to create folders also for these Nexus mods. For this instance, we're going to be downloading a Sprint mod today to show that it works on 360. So I've created this FNV mods folder on my PC, and then I created a Sprint mod folder inside the FNV mods folder, and then this is where I've dumped all of the Nexus mod data onto this folder. So now we need to figure out how to convert this into a format that the Xbox can understand. Because if you just drag and drop these BSAs and ESPs over to your data folder, which we will do, but if you just do that and nothing else, the game isn't going to read it, so nothing will happen. So how do we turn these files into a DLC package? Well, you're going to want to go to the Google Drive that I've linked down below, and you're going to see two applications in there. One's a texture optimizer, which we'll get into later, and the other one is called LaFluffy. I discussed this in my mod showcase. It's going to be a zip format, and you're going to want to open this exe file, click Run, and it's going to take some time to boot up, but it eventually will. What this application basically does is it turns files into DLC packages the Xbox can read. Extremely important tool. So once it loads up, you're going to be brought to this screen right here. To create DLC packages, you're going to want to go up to this left hand corner and click File. You're going to see Open File, Package Creation, FATX Explorer, or whatever. The only one you're going to want to click right now is Package Creation. You're going to be prompted with this screen. You don't need to mess with this, just click OK. Let it do its thing, and then it'll bring up this menu. The very first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come down where it says None, click this little arrow, and click Marketplace. Then you're going to want to go over to Title ID. This is pretty important. This is where you're going to be putting your title ID for Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3 or whatever game you're modding. For Fallout 3, or Fallout New Vegas, my bad, you're going to want to punch in that title ID. 425307E0. I like to double check a couple times. 425307E0. Then what you're going to do after you've punched that in, you don't need to press enter or anything. It's in there. Then you're going to click finalization. Now on this screen, don't mess with anything else. Just come down here to where it says Dev Live and click that. You'll see the little blue circle there. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to right click right underneath this file box. When you right click, you're going to click Add Files. LaFloofy is going to bring up this screen right here, and this is basically asking for what files you want to add to this box. So you're going to want to go to your FNV mods folder on your PC, and then click where you have your files. In this case, we're going to be basically what you put in here is just ESPs and ESMs. I'm going to be kind of descriptive right now. For the ESPs and ESMs, if a mod requires both of them, turn them into two separate DLC packages. Don't put you can have like 5 ESPs in one package, for example, or you could have 5 ESMs in one package, for example, but don't cross them. So don't have like 2 ESMs and then 2 ESPs in one package. It won't load properly. I've tested it a couple times and it's bugged out on me every single time. So if a mod has ESPs and ESMs, turn them into separate packages, just so that way they load up properly and you don't experience any issues. Anyway, you're going to be prompted with this. Just click Sprint Mod ESP or whatever file or whatever mod you want. Make sure it's an ESP or an ESM, it doesn't matter, whatever the mod requires. And then you'll see it gets added to this file box. So it'll say sprintmod.esp. You can keep adding to this, just keep right clicking, click add, and then of course you can click your next ESP or ESM, whatever you're doing. Just don't cross them, obviously. Once that's all done, you can double check your work. You can click finalization, make sure you got all that. You can go back to main, and then you can double check, make sure you got everything inputted properly. Then go down here and hit create package. And you're going to be prompted with this screen. It's going to say save to where. This is basically where you're going to, it says this, but it's basically asking what do you want to name the mod package. In this case, we're going to name it Sprint Mod. So you can see right there. And this is going to be the name of the DLC package. You can name this whatever you want. This is what's going to show up in-game underneath the downloadable content. And you're just going to click save. You're also going to want to make sure you're in the right, this is basically where it's going to be stored at. So it's going to be stored inside the FNV mods folder, inside the Sprint mods folder right here, with the rest of the ESPs and BSAs. You're just going to click save. Let it do its thing, and then it's going to prompt another screen right here. Don't mess with anything right here. You're just going to want to go up here to security, click on security, and then come down here, don't mess with anything else, and just click sign for dev live. Click that. Then go over here and click fix. Give it about 3 seconds, and then it doesn't really confirm anything, but you give it about 3 seconds, it'll save. So then after that, you're all done in LaFloofy. Just click X. Click X. You don't need that application anymore. If you get prompted like this screen right here, just click X. It doesn't really matter. And now, as you can see, inside the Sprint mod, we have this DLC package that we created. You can see it's just called a file. You can see the time that we created it. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to jump back over here onto the root of our USB drive. You're going to want to go into your DLC mod list folder that you've created. And all you're going to do is you're going to grab this specific file that we just created, the package, and you're going to want to drag it over here. Just hit copy. And there you go. Now it's on our mod list. The next thing you're going to want to do, go back to the root, go to games, go to Fallout New Vegas, go to data, And right here is where we're going to be dumping the rest of the files for the Sprint mod to make sure it loads up properly. So all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, like I said, you don't need to worry about text files. They're not really that important. The main ones are BSAs, ESMs, ESPs, that sort of thing. Do not add the DLC package inside here. Do not put the DLC package inside the data folder. That just needs to go on your mod list folder. So we're just going to drag over all three of these, the BSA and the ESPs. And then you're going to drag them over and it'll say copy to data. Just let go of it. And then as you can see, they're all in the data folder now. And that's about it. That's as simple as that. I'll do one more here because we need to. We're going to get a weapon animation mod. Which will be right here. File, package creation, click OK. Marketplace 425307 E0. Finalization, dev live. Right click, add files. Scroll down till you see the mod that you're going to be working out of. Weapon animations, reload sounds, ESP, open, create package. Just title this weapon animations. Enter. Security. Sign for dev live. Fix. 1, 2, 3. X out. X out. X out of the prompt. And as you can see, now we have the weapon animations file. So now we're going to drag the meshes over to the data folder for this mod. If you get prompted to merge, just make sure nothing overwrites or overlaps each other. If it's big, it'll take longer, obviously. Reload sounds, drag that over there. And there you go. So now we got two mods installed onto the data folder. We're going to hop over to the DLC mod list now. We're going to drop off the file package that we just created. Right there. Weapon animations. So there you go. That's pretty much all there is to it for getting mods on the console. It's a relatively simple process and you can get pretty quick with it if you know what you're doing. It can take time, and you're going to start out pretty slow because you want to be careful, but eventually you'll get faster. One way to check for memory. Memory is a big part for the Xbox 360 version of this game. If you go to Games, click Fallout New Vegas, inside this folder you can right click and you can go down to Properties. This will tell you the size of the game. You can see mine is at 4.97 gigabytes. This should be somewhere around 4.770 or so gigabytes with no mods installed. So yours should say probably 4.70. The Xbox memory limit is around 512 megabytes, I believe. Obviously, I wouldn't add mods that are, you know, super massive. I don't typically go over 5.2. So if this size exceeds 5.2, you're going to have a lot of performance issues. Mine's at a nice stable 4.97. The Xbox, doing it with DLC packages bypasses the memory limit a good bit. You wouldn't be able to get nearly as much as many of these mods with a plugins text file. One, it's annoying because you have to create a load order then, and two, because of the massive memory constraints. So doing it this way, you can really get a lot of the overhaul mods to work on 360, which is nice. I'll show in a little bit how to get the load order manipulated on 360, because the 360 likes to load it in automatically. I talked about it a little bit in my discussion, but that's about all you need to do over here for all this. Just make sure you watch your size, and we'll go pop this USB drive right back into the console and boot it up and show how it works. Alright, so booting up the Xbox, we're going to plug in the USB drive now, and you'll see a prompt on my screen saying that the USB's been inserted. There we go. Alright, so now you're going to go back to your file manager, and what you're going to want to do is go down to the USB 0 that you have, and then go into your mod list. You don't need to mess around with anything in the games anymore, you just kind of leave this alone. So going into the mod list, now we're going to scroll down until you find your mod that you've installed. In my case it's the sprint mod and weapon animations. So now all you're going to do is go over here on Aurora and click copy. It'll say 2 files are ready for copy, and right shoulder button, go over to your hard drive, go to HDD1, go down to content, go to the 16 zeros, and then find the title ID for the game, whatever game you're modding. So in this case it's New Vegas, so we're going to click Fallout New Vegas, then go into the marketplace, and then right here is where you're going to put your DLC packages. If you see these numbers, don't delete these. These are the DLCs, the official DLCs for the game. They're just not named anything special. So they show up named in the game, but for some reason in the file structure they're just numbers and gibberish. So just leave it alone, and just make sure you paste your mods in here. So like I said, just select weapon animations or whatever your mod is, and then of course the sprint mod, copy over here, and then while you're inside this folder, just click paste. And you'll see that your new mods have been pasted in here. So we can see weapon animations in here now, and the sprint mod. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Now we have the mods in game. So now that these DLC packages are on our hard drive, we can back out of this, back out all this stuff, and go down to USB. Now you want to go to your games, Fallout New Vegas, and you're going to want to launch this default.xex. This will take you right into New Vegas. Right here I like to sign in. Once you press start, just make sure you select your hard drive, because that's where all of our DLC stuff's at. You're going to get prompted with this message, loading downloadable content. You'll see this regularly if you even play the game. It's just basically loading all the DLCs. This is going to be, I think it's longer the more mods that you have. So I think the bigger the mods you have, the longer this load time is going to take. Mine takes a pretty long time. I have some pretty heavy mods on my list, but it's lengthy regardless. I've had it crash on this screen before. Just give it a good while. It shouldn't take too long. Mine should be over pretty soon. There we go. It can freeze there though, so if you're sitting there forever, yeah, just restart the console. Don't worry about deleting anything else, just restart the console and try again. If it loads that screen and the game crashes or your console reboots, the mod's incompatible. So, or you have something like a mistake set up in your file structure or something. I've had that too. So now to double check, I always like to double check when I'm loading up new mods. So I go down here to downloadable content, and you will see all of your mods here. I believe newly added ones always get put to the bottom, so sprint mod and weapon animations, we can see them both loaded in correctly here. And we'll just go to load, load up this level 8 save. As you can see, what just got added to our inventory, that's the sprint mod instructions. This is my level 8 save. I figured I'd boot this up to show that the game still runs even after doing a lot of quests without tanking the frame rate and stuff. So the game still runs great. Going to notes, you're going to see the sprint mod instructions. It'll say something about a script extender. The Xbox doesn't run script extenders, and this mod works fine without it. So basically what you can do with this is you can change settings. Motion blur, I turn that off. Breathing sound, I turn that off. I leave head bobbing on. And sprint delay, I like to have it at least 1 second. I think you need to have it at 1 second or higher for it to even work. Just click OK. And then you need to hotkey this in order to use it. So we'll hit right shoulder button, and then right on the D-pad I found works best. And now, whenever you walk forward, press right on the D-pad, you can see now I'm sprinting. You'll see my AP going down, so that's how you know it's working. And then you just press it again, it'll stop running. It kind of sucks because it has to be mapped to the D-pad in order to use, but it's better than nothing. You gotta make sure you press it twice to cancel it, otherwise he'll keep running over and over again. So it sucks you gotta use it that way, but it's nice to know that it actually works. So yeah, there's our weapon animation mod for first-person animations. You can see they look a little bit different there. So yeah, this mod just kind of affects first-person animations, which look pretty nice. So yeah, that's really all I gotta kind of show, guys. I mean, I'm gonna hop over to the hop on back over to the PC to show how texture optimizers work, and this is kind of just how you test mods. Like I said, the cheat terminal's really nice. The cheat terminal lets you jump around real quick, because if you don't have a save file that's further in the game, then you kind of gotta, get around quicker. And the cheat terminal's nice just to be able to get around the map if you're testing certain things. So I highly recommend that for anybody that's going to get into modding this. So yeah, with that being said, that's just kind of how I've been testing them and getting them to work. And that's kind of the whole process that I used in order to get all these to happen. It's kind of cool. The sprint mod even makes the controller vibrate, which is kind of really neat to see. You wouldn't think that it would do that since it's a PC mod, of course, but we'll hop on over to the PC and I'll show you guys how to use the texture optimizer as well as manipulating the load order. I completely forgot to record this and show this off. How do you delete mods? So that's kind of a really important thing that I completely forgot to show off originally, so here we go. When deleting mods, all you're gonna do, it's very simple. Like I said, you'll have this folder of your FNV mods on your PC. Just plug your USB drive back in the game, or back into the PC. Plug your USB drive back into your PC, go to your games folder, go to the New Vegas folder, go inside your data, and basically what you're gonna wanna do, this can be a really lengthy process or it can be quite quick. What I've done is I just usually delete all the files related to that specific mod. So for example, let's delete the sprint mod that we installed. So I'll find it in my mods folder here. Okay, so now these are all the files that are going to be in the data folder that are related to the Sprint mod. So you'd want to delete this sound BSA, this texture BSA, the ESP, and you'd also want to delete the DLC package. This is the only thing you need to delete off the Xbox. So on your Xbox, you need to go back to your content folder inside your HDD1, and you would need to go to your Fallout title ID, and then find the mod that you want to delete, and then just delete that DLC package, and then that kind of removes it from the game. And then to save space on your data folder, it's good to just find the mod here and delete it. So I see them right here. So here's an ESP, BSA, sound BSA, and then these three are what's related. All you do is simply just delete them. For mods that don't have BSAs and are just giving you straight up meshes and textures that get merged into here, that's more of a pain in the ass, because now you have to manually kind of go through those, because if you don't want to delete the entirety of the mesh folder, because if you do that, it's going to clash with other stuff. So for example, let's go to the weapon animation that we installed. So that has, see, it doesn't have a BSA. Basically, a BSA is just a bunch of packed in meshes and textures, I believe. So that way you don't have to worry about individual folders. So what I do to go through this manually is you have to go into the mesh folder, and you'll see characters and weapons. So then you go into the mesh folder, and you'll also see characters, weapons on the inside the data folder and meshes. Right here, weapons. So one-hand melee, and it's good to double check one-hand melee. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that this mod is the only one that uses the weapons partition. So you just delete that, boom, it's gone. Characters, right here. Oh, look at that. See, there's a difference right there. So see, Joshua Graham. See, if I were to delete this characters folder, the Joshua Graham one would have went with it. So that's why it's good to double check. So now I can just delete these two. And there you go. Now the Joshua Graham's still safe, and it doesn't mess up my other mods. And now we can just go back, and we can find the ESP. And delete that. And there you go. That's all there is to it, really. Like I said, if you do need to make sure you delete the DLC package off your console. So just go into HDD1 content, and then, you know, find the title ID of the game and the marketplace, and then go in and delete the DLC package, and you'll be all good to go. The mod's removed. I don't know why I completely forgot to show that off, but I did. But there you go. It can be lengthy, it can be quite quick. It all just depends on how the mod is structured. As far as adding individual folders to make it easier, like inside of a meshes or textures folder, like having a mod say like if I were to create a new folder and then I name it weapon animations. I don't know if that would work. I've never tried it. You might be able to get better organization that way, and it might make things easier when installing or removing mods, but I'm pretty sure the ESP has to read from a very specific file path in order for it to work, so it's a little risky. You're welcome to experiment. So yeah, that's how you delete mods. Alright, what I'm going to be showing off next is my texture optimizer that I use. This will also be in the Google Drive. First off, I'm going to answer the question, like, why use the texture optimizer? Well, the Xbox can only run kind of like lower res textures because it's an older console, obviously. A lot of mod authors make their mods with 4K resolution, which is nice. You want the best quality possible, but the Xbox just simply isn't that powerful. It will, a lot of the times, if you have too high res of textures, it'll crash the game out. Sometimes you can get a really nice high res one in game to load properly, but I mean, it'll be really high res, but loading in and out of cells, it has a massive potential to crash your game. So the lower the res, the better the performance. Obviously, you don't want it too low res to the point where you know, the graphics are hideous. I found that 1K textures seem to be the most balanced. If you go lower than 1K, it's going to run extremely smooth, but they're not going to look too great. If you go 2K, you might be able to get it in the game, but it's going to have performance issues. 4K won't run at all. That's likely going to crash on startup. So the texture optimizer I use is called Ordinator. All you're going to do is click this exe, click run, and it's going to pop up like this. You shouldn't have to mess with too much. Here, right here is where you pick your mods. So you're going to click this. You're going to go down to Fallout New Vegas mods. Keep going down. The one we're going to be messing with today is called Courier 6. You can click these little drop down arrows, and you need to click on textures and click OK. So now it'll say FNV mods, and it'll show the whole pathway. And we're going to change the textures for this one. This is already kind of configured really well. You don't need to mess with too much. You know, kind of just leave everything as is. For profiles, you're going to want to click maximum, and then you're going to want to click whatever game you're doing. So the texture optimizer does Stalker, Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, New Vegas, Fallout 3, I think regular Fallout, but we're just going to do New Vegas. I leave most of these alone. I don't mess with that. You can uncheck mark this if you want to. You can get kind of creative with these. This is considered 4K. This is 2K, 1K, and less than 1K. The mod we're doing right now is called Courier 6 Armor. I don't know if that's the real name, official name, but yeah, we're gonna try and compress it down to 1K textures, I believe, because I think it's 2K texture. And once you pick whatever kind of thing you want there, make sure you leave that check marked. You're just gonna want to click start. It'll say resize images. This is because we are compressing it. Just click yes. Let it kind of do its thing. This is the backup. You can X out of this if you don't care about backups. But yeah, it'll say resized, compressed, compressed, resized, compressed. It kind of helps memory as well, because it shrinks the size of the files. Sometimes you gotta watch, sometimes it'll completely destroy the texture, but most of the time it works. And it'll show how much free space it freed up, and it'll show what it converted. Yeah, if you need to compress it further, you can change it more, which will compress them even harder. It'll back it up, and then you can X out of the backup if you don't care about backups, and it'll still be good. And then you can click done, and with that, that's how the texture optimizer works. So now when we go to this mod, go to textures, you can see their edit date, and you can see how small they are now. So now they're very compressed, very low res. Like I said, you got to kind of play around with the 1K and less than 1K textures. That's what I like to do. Usually I'll try and run them at 1K, and if they're still bugging out, or if they're causing a lot of performance, I'll compress them harder. But yeah, that's how you use the compression tool. Very useful, extremely useful. That's kind of how I got Atom to work. It's how I get a lot of my mods to work. I used it on Fallout 3 to get some really nice floral mods to work, because I had to compress them pretty hard, and those run great. I'll do a showcase on my Fallout 3 sometime, because it's modded as well. Last thing I'm going to show you guys for this tutorial is how to manipulate the Xbox load order. Like I've been saying, the Xbox automatically creates a load order for you. It's smart enough to know what to load first without bugging the game out. And this is the only way I've found to manipulate the load order.
doing it with the DLC packages. Obviously, if you do it with the text plugin file or whatever, you need to create a load order that way, so that's how you edit it, which is nice, but it's a pain in the ass to set up. So this is a better way because you just don't have to worry about load orders too much, and 9 times out of 10 you're not going to need to mess with this, only when you need to overwrite something. So for example, ultra realistic wasteland lighting likes to mess with interior cells. I had to manipulate the load order in order to get my mod list to work. I had to, the way the load order works on 360 is it loads the oldest last modified date first. So the older the date modified, that's going to be the game loads in first. The reason it does that is because if you think about from a DLC perspective, the way things load, like obviously it loads the base game first, and then it loads the DLC that came out first, which was Dead Money, I believe, and then after that it was Honest Hearts, Old World Blues, then Lonesome Road. So it loads all those in a specific order, and it loads the oldest first. So you can kind of manipulate that the same way with the ESPs or ESMs for these kind of mods. I believe, hold on, let me check. I do believe I only needed one for ultra realistic wasteland lighting as far as ESPs or ESMs. Okay, so I use the ESM. So this ESP we do not need right here. Okay. So the way you can manipulate the load order, you're going to want to not mess with the older one. So leave the older one alone. The one you want to load in first, leave that one alone. The mod you want to overwrite with another one, so for example, ultra realistic, if it loads in last, what that does is it overwrites the previous mod that was already loaded in. So since ultra realistic wasteland lighting messes with interior cells, you're going to need to overwrite that and have a mod load after it, so that way it doesn't do that, and that way that mod that loads after fixes that. So what I would go to, for example, would be, let's see here, let's do interior lighting overhaul. Maybe not, that one's all jacked up. We'll just do what I use. We'll use atmospheric lighting tweaks here. So in this ESP, we'd want this one to load after. So all you need to do is right click, and I use an application called Notepad++. This lets you get into the code of the ESP. There's a lot here. It looks like a bunch of crap. Don't mess with anything. You can really break the ESP here. But what you want to do to change the last modified date to make this one sooner, I think the reason it was not working before was because the last modified date for this one was older than ultra realistic wasteland lighting, and basically what that meant was it was loading in first and then it was getting overwritten. So to fix that, all I like to do is I load up with a code application. I'm not going to link this one. You guys can probably find this pretty easily, or whatever other code application you want to use. And you want to find kind of a common letter to change. So like for example, I'll go up here to dungeons. It doesn't matter where you go, just find a common letter or number. Like obviously I wouldn't want to try and find this and type that out, so I'm going to go up here to dungeons. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click backspace just once. There we go. So now it's already modified because now I just deleted that one letter. And so now I'm going to add the G right back. I'm not going to mess with anything else. And then all I'm going to do is come up here to this little save icon and click save. So now the code is identical to how it was before, but now guess what? We just changed the last modified date, and now this ESP has been modified, so it's going to load later. And that's the only way I've found to manipulate the load order on 360 with DLC packages, and it works. It doesn't necessarily matter if you've already created the DLC package. You know, it doesn't matter. You can edit the ESP after or before. One way or another, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you drag the newly modified one over to the data and not the old one. You know. So, yeah, that's all I got to show for this tutorial, guys. I hope it helps you. I tried to make it as simple as possible. Like I said, I'm going to show off my Fallout 3 mods and stuff that I've got on there. Probably not for a long time. I haven't felt well at all these past few weeks, and my life's been crazy busy. I just wanted to really show off my showcase and help you guys out with mods, because I kind of wanted to bring more attention back to the 360 version. Thank you for bearing with me and all of my garbage camera quality, and thank you for overlooking that and appreciating the Xbox 360 mods. This was a lot of work to get these things to work, and a lot of research on how to do it. And a lot of, like I said in the beginning of the video, trial and error. It's just, it's the biggest thing is trial and error. You're gonna have a lot of trial and error. It's just you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but just find something that runs well. You know, performance is the #1 thing, I'd say, and you'll be good to go. That being said, this is probably the last New Vegas video I'm going to be making, so thank you guys for watching, and hit me up in the comments if you have any questions.